Seriously?
Hey guys, and welcome to this news video with myself, 6 Plus Stevo. It is, at the time of recording, the 30th of January, and on the Warhammer community site they have released an article called Meta Watch, Warhammer 40,000, the first Balance Dataslate and points update of 2024. The article opens up with New Year, New Balance. Ugh. The first update to Warhammer 40,000 of 2024 is here, and there are some significant changes to both rules and points. Before we get into the meat of the meta, Josh and Lewis chat about the juiciest changes coming to a tabletop near you. There is then a 17-minute video, which I'll be honest with you guys, I have not watched, but I'm sure it will be of huge interest to all the competitive players out there. So there is a Balance Dataslate up for download, which has some changes to some rules, covers a lot in the way of stratagems, and then also some various factions have had some tweaks and things to their rules. I've had a quick skim through it, and Orks are not one of the factions in there that's had any sort of significant changes. But obviously the stratagems will affect us, and obviously I guess if one of these other factions is a regular opponent of yours, you might want to give it a little peruse. What I'm going to be covering in this video today is the Munitorum field manual. So we have had some changes to points, and overall it's all been pretty positive. We've had most of the stuff stay the same. A fair few things have come down in points, and we've only had 3 units go up in points, and by up in points they haven't gone up by a huge amount. We're definitely gaining more than we're losing overall on this, dependent on your army list builds. Certain, if you're unlucky enough to have all the units that have gone up in points and none of the ones that have gone down, then it's going to feel a bit shitty for you. But yeah, overall, for most Ork players, I would say this is a positive thing. And speaking of positives, shall we start with the positives? Yeah, let's have a look at the points drops. So the first unit is the Battle Wagon. The Battle Wagon previously, yesterday, cost 185 points. It has had a drop of 25 points. It is now a mere 160 points. So that's beautiful for the Battle Wagons. I think possibly, GW obviously feel that they were a little bit overcosted before. So yeah, 25 points knocked off a Battle Wagon. If you're running a couple of these in your list, you are smiling from ear to ear right now. That is lovely jubbly. Then we've got the Boom Daka Snaz Wagon. That previously cost 90 points, and that's had a 10 points drop, now just 80 points. I don't use a lot of the buggies much, but I have been hearing on the grapevine a lot of people talking about the buggies, saying that they're not great at the moment currently in this edition. So hopefully knocking 10 points off a Snaz Wagon is just going to help it. Possibly put it in for your consideration in putting in your lists now. Then we've got the Hunter Rig. So the Hunter Rig previously cost 160 points. That's had a 10-point reduction down to 150. I don't see or hear about a lot of people using the Hunter Rig. I think the Kill Rig is the far more popular option, and I can kind of understand why. But I think although the Hunter Rig's had a drop in points, I think it's going to be even less of a tempting unit choice, because the Kill Rig has come down by a lot more. So the Kill Rig previously cost 200 points. Now it's had a 30-point drop, so it is only 170 points. So before you had a 40-point difference between the Hunter Rig and the Kill Rig. Now there is only a 20-point difference, so it's a lot harder to justify the Hunter Rig unless you've got something kind of very specific in mind, that you want that extra sort of transport capacity and things that it's got. So yeah, I think the kill rig is going to be even more popular now, and probably even less people will opt for using the hunter rig. So yeah, yeah, hunter rig 150 points and the kill rig 170. A 30-point drop on the kill rig is very nice, and I'm sure that's going to put a smile on a lot of faces. Now, one that's put a big smile on my face that I was not expecting at all is killer cans. Killer cans were previously 150 points for 3, so they were 50 points each. They've had a 25-point drop for the unit of 3, not each. Cool, that would be something, wouldn't it? Yeah, no. So 3 killer cans will now cost you 125 points. So that's about, I don't know, what is it, 42 points each? It works out as approximately, give or take, or 41.75 or something like that. But yeah, a decent point drop there. Another 25 points saved on a unit of 3. So that's put a big smile on my face. And killer cans were, I've found they've been doing me all right in games, so I wasn't expecting them to have a drop. We've then got another one of the buggies, the custom booster blaster. The custom booster blaster did cost 100. Didn't cost 100. It cost 85 points. It now costs 75 points, so a 10-point drop on the custom booster blaster. And then another one of the buggies, the Megatrack Scrapjet, was 90 points, a 10-point drop down to 80 points. So I think Speed Freak players, Evil Suns players, have got a lot to smile about here with all these buggies dropping down. You know, those 10 points here, 10 points there, it starts adding up, and before you know it, have a look at your lists again, and you might think, oh, I could squeeze another unit in there, or I can, you know, squeeze a little something extra in, maybe another enhancement or something. Users of the Morkanaut have a lot to smile about. I think this is the biggest points drop we've had. It was 330 points, a very expensive unit. It has now dropped 35 points down to 295. I think that's going to make the Morkanaut a lot more tempting. I'm just going to have a look at the Gorkanaut here. So it is now only 15 points more than a Gorkanaut. I would still prefer the Gorkanaut myself, though. But yeah, that's great, though. Absolutely fantastic that that's had a drop. Then we get another one of the buggies, the Rucker Truck Squig Buggy. That was 110 points and has now dropped to 100 points. Very nice indeed. And then another one of the buggies, the Shock Jump Dragster, that was 85 points and has now dropped down to 75 points. I'm sure that's got to make it the cheapest of all the buggies. I think it is, yeah, the Shock Jump Dragster, 75 points. That's a nice, yeah, that's a nice cost. That's nice and cheap, isn't it? And that's it for all the stuff that's come down in points. So that's the good news. Now we move on to the bad news. But there's not much of it. We've had knobs. A unit of 5 knobs previously cost 105 points. They've now gone up by 5 points to 110 points. So 1 point per knob. There you go. I don't think that's going to bother anyone. 5 points, who cares? So yeah, I'm quite surprised actually that they felt they needed to go up. I mean, they're a good unit. They are a good unit. They've got a lot of options. I think if you kit them out in certain ways, I think, you know, a unit of knobs all armed with power claws or big choppers, are going to be pretty damn good. So yeah. Then we have a unit that I can't really argue with this. It's the Squig Hog Boys. So previously, Squig Hog Boys, for 3 of them, cost 110 points. Which, let's be honest, guys, that was a bit of a steal, wasn't it? Because they're really bloody good now. They're very, very good. Yeah, Squig Hog Boys have been absolutely smashing it so far this edition. They've always done really well for me in 10th anyway. But yeah, they've had a bit more of a points increase. They've gone up 15 points, up to 125 points for 3 Squig Hog Boys. And to be honest with you, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I think it's opened up like other sort of units like tank hunters, death copters and things, for example, that can be fairly good at sort of that's similar sort of size unit for taking out vehicles, you know, sporting rockets and whatnot. But the Squighog boys were so much better and basically the same cost. So now that they cost that bit more, it might mean some of them other units get a bit of a look in consideration. And then the last one, again, after it had a points increase just in the last field menu, is the truck. It has gone up again. It was 60 points, and I think before that it might have been 50. It is now 65 points. Again, I can understand why. The truck is an incredibly useful unit. It's pretty damn good in game at the moment. The truck, when I bring my truck, it always kind of does what I've bought it for. It does what it needs to, and then quite often a little bit more. So yeah, I don't mind spending an extra 5 points on a truck. I still think it's a really, really good unit and well worth taking in your armies. So there we go, guys. That is all the points changes. The only other thing I want to cover a little bit is some of the units that didn't change. Tank Busters being one. I know they came down in points in the last update, but I still think 110 points for the 5 of them. With the rules they've got, equipped the way they are, I still think they could have used a little bit of a drop. If they'd sort of, even if they just dropped them down to 100, I think sort of 5 Tank Busters with a couple of Bomb Squigs for 100 points, it would be a little bit more tempting, because it's quite a fairly cheap unit then, and although it's like a real glass hammer, I think that would have made it a little bit more tempting. The fact that you could have 5 knobs for the same cost as 5 Tank Busters, I mean, the knobs are just so much better. I know they're a very different unit and different targets and whatnot, but in my opinion, so much better. And the fact that still Squighog boys are just 15 points more than a unit of Tank Busters, but they're so much better at killing tanks than Tank Busters, and so much more resilient. It's still, yeah, so they're, in my mind, still overcosted. But to be honest, dropping points isn't really what they need to do with Tank Busters. What they need to do is in the next codex really fix that unit, bring back the options and stuff with that unit for sure. And another one I was quite surprised at was Flyers. The fact that none of the Flyers had a drop, because it's particularly the Burner Bomber and the Blitzer Bomber, I really, really think they could have done with a drop in points, because yeah, then Bombers not in a great place right now with the way the rules work and stuff. So that they really could have used a drop in points, because I just don't hear or see of anyone using them ever. And then the old favourite, the Stomper, is still bloody expensive, 800 points, and I think against certain factions and things, so if you're coming up against an army of a lot of tank busting units, the Stomper, yeah, I don't know. I think a little drop in points for him may have been nice. But let me know what you think, guys. Please let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about these point changes? Are you happy about them? Are you devastated? What do you think should have had a points change? And yeah, just let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you really enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. And if you thought it was the greatest video you've ever seen, why don't you have a look at that join button? Until the next one, guys, this is 6 Plus Stevo, signing out.